Farmers, you're welcome back to Adeta Farm. I am your farm captain, Simeon. Today we want to talk on miscropping. As we all know, and as we've all read in school, miscropping is planting two different crops or more than two different crops on the same piece of land. So when you have two different crops on the same piece of land, that is what we call miscropping. That is the system. So we plant two crops on one land, like one piece of land. So as you can see at my back here, we have the maize growing, then we have the cassava growing as well. So maize and cassava is not the only crop you can plant on your piece of land. You can have your pepper and tomato growing on the same piece of land. You can have your yam and your maize growing on the same piece of land. You can have your beans and your yam growing on the same piece of land. So you can have so many. You have so many examples. We have the pepper and tomato. We have a lot that you can plant on your piece of land. As you can see it here, we have the cassava and we have the maize growing as well too, so you can plant that on your piece of land. So we have lots that you can check, but one thing that should be your target is plant both annual and perennial. So we know perennial is a yearly crop, and annual will be within a year. So your annual crop, you plant it first, then you plant your perennial as well. So you harvest your perennial before you harvest your annual crops rather before your perennial. So that should be your target as well. So please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so, and click the notification bell to get notified when next we drop a new content for you. So we have the crop. We have the two crops growing. You can actually plant more than two, or more than two, like 2, 3, 4 crops. So the one that is in such a way that it won't affect both the crops together. So you can plant any crops. This is a tractor-based farming. It was tractor that tilled the soil. So they planted it on the straight line. You will see the maize growing on its own, and you will actually see the cassava growing on its own too. Can you see the two different crops? This is the maize, and we have the cassava growing as well. So it won't affect each other. So you harvest the maize rather. Sorry, you harvest the maize before the cassava. So just watch the video to the end. I'll teach you how you can harvest the maize, after which you give the cassava the chance to grow. It's so simple. It cannot affect each other. You just have to keep your farm clean. You have to weed all the time. You have to keep the farm clean, so that no other crops like unwanted weeds won't compete with them. So they will be the crops you plant will be the only crop sharing nutrients between each other. Can you see? Farmers practice miscropping just because of small availabilities of land. When land are not much for farmers to for their farming, so what they do is they practice miscropping. So miscropping is one of the things we do much in Nigeria. So most farmers practice miscropping because it's one of the things we do in Nigeria the most. As you can see, this is a maize and cassava farm. So they planted both. So what you can just do is simply to plant the maize first. When the maize grow up, then you can plant the cassava. So it's not a bad idea. You can just once the maize started growing, once you see the maize shooting up, once the seedling started growing, you can plant your cassava. So firstly, the maize will retard the growth of the cassava, but in as soon as you cut the maize, when the maize is ready for harvest and you harvest them and you cut them off, the cassava will have the chance to grow as fast as it can. Maize and cassava is not the only crop you can mix on your farm. You can actually mix tomato and pepper. All the same, it goes. Before pepper get ready for harvest, tomato would have, finished its life cycle, would have given you the result that you want. It would have yielded and would have died. They would have died off. So you can actually practice tomato and pepper as well. You can as well plant yam and cassava. So within 10 months, you would have harvested your yam and leave the farm for cassava to grow. Cassava is a perennial crop and yam is an annual crop. So it's very simple. That should be your target. You plant both annual and perennial crop together, so you don't let them mix together. You get, so you have to balance the two. So before the perennial get ready, you would have harvest the annual crop, and it will have given chance to the perennial crop to grow to grow well. You can as well plant tomato, both tomato and okra and pepper together. So both of them can still, pepper will go on a long run, but tomato will have a very short life cycle, and the same is okra. So it won't take much time to yield and stop yielding. So it will dry up. Then it will give your pepper chance to grow. So that is what we call mixed cropping. Mixed cropping is to mix different one, two, or three crops on the same piece of land. So you harvest one, then you leave the other for a very long time. So this is what I'm trying to tell you exactly. As you can see, we have the maize. The maize they are ready for harvest right now. They are drying up. So inside it, you will see some cassava. So they have already mixed the two together. So the maize is ready for harvest. They planted the maize before they planted the cassava. So and the maize is ready for harvest. As much as as soon as they cut the maize off, they will give the cassava chance to grow. So that this is example. There is one of the example of maize cropping. So you can practice maize cropping too. It won't destroy your crops, or it won't affect any crops. In as much as you can keep your farm clean and neat like this, you spray, and you can just check Adita Farm anytime, please. I'll give you some example how you can split your farm if you have a little crops like this, little crop going like this, all this cassava that is growing little. So if you wanted to spray them, I'll teach you how to spray them so that it won't affect this thing. You actually need a professionalist to help you spray your farm. So if you have little crops like this, you will need somebody that can spray well, someone that is specialized in spraying, so to help you spray your farm. So as you can see, we have some small cassava that is growing inside the farm. Can you see them at the back, at my back? So that is just what we call mixed cropping. So all these maize are ready. They are already ready for harvest. So they are done. They are getting dried for harvest. Once they harvest them, they will cut them off, and after they cut them off, they will give the cassava a chance to grow. This too is another example for you to see. As you can see, the cassava is already dried off, and they have harvested it. So you can see the maize here. They have harvested it. They have already harvested it. So you can see other part. So once you harvest your cassava like this, your maize like this, so you cut the maize. You cut it. You use your cutlass to cut it. Then you put it uh, on the line, inside the line of the between the middle of the maize, between the middle of the hips. So you put them together. So the all the ridges you make, you cut the cassava, then you cut the maize rather. Sorry, then you cut the maize, you put it in the middle of your ridges. So that will serve as another manure for your crop. Next time you want to turn the ground, so the cassava ashes will still stand as a fertilizer. So it will refertilize the soil for you to plant another crop. It is so simple. It is so simple. You just cut, then you put it in the middle. You can see it at my back. So you cut it, you put it in the middle, and you leave it, you weed. One thing you should know when you are practicing mixed cropping, so that one crop doesn't affect another, weed. Control the weed and make your farm clean. Once your farm is clean, you have no problem with mixed cropping. So you can mix any type of crop that you see that it can goes together. Any crops that can go together, so you mix it together. So you plant it on your piece of land. So you practice it. You cut the one that you first plant once you harvest them, so that you will give the second one space to grow. So it's so simple to practice mixed cropping. Mixed cropping is not, it's not a hard thing. So it's what people practice in our area here. Oftentimes, all the time, we practice it because it's part of our farming system here. So we do, though we have enough land, we have availabilities of land, but making ridges from here to here for another, it's somehow stressful. That's how we practice mixed cropping. And there are some farms we plant we only practice monocrop. So you get, so it's just happen like that anytime. Just check Adita Farm anytime. We'll be giving you information, and we'll be teaching you the things you need to know. All the farming system you need to know, is either about livestock or about crop. We'll be bringing it to your ears, and you'll be watching, and you'll be just keep on viewing. And don't forget to drop a comment and hit us on Telegram too at Adita Farm. So we are here for you. So you need to keep these crops growing is to clean. You clean the farm, you weed the farm, you spray. Is either you spray or you clean or you weed the farm. So once you do that, your cassava will pick up, no matter how delayed it is. So it will pick up and it will start germinating. As you can see, these are three crops together. So they planted the cassava, they plant the maize, and they plant the yam as well. This is actually water yam. So before the water yam get done, the maize would have, you would have done with the maize would have ready for harvest. So you cut them off. So when you cut them off, it will leave the cassava and the maize, no, and the yam together. So after which you harvest the yam as well. So then it will now be left with the cassava rather. So it will be left with the cassava. Then you can now take care of the farm and treat your cassava farm. Then you clean it, you weed, then you take good care of it. Then you will now have time to germinate and grow faster than it was expected.